I made this same video like a year ago, and here I am doing the exact same thing. This is how the Phoenix Suns have tricked the NBA. Again. Coming into the season, a lot of people had doubts about the Phoenix Suns after that Game 7 loss to the Mavericks. So many people think because of one loss and them not really losing any players that this team would get significantly worse. I don't know how the team that was basically the #1 team in the NBA for most of the season somehow just got worse. Phoenix basically retained all their core players and got some better role players. Yet you had some dumbasses saying that this team's championship window basically was closed, which I am so sick of hearing that term, because every time I hear that, that team ends up winning the championship, hence Golden State. Which, speaking of Golden State, let's talk about them. Last night, the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors played in a regular season matchup, and a lot of people had no expectations for this, because Golden State is so much better compared to Phoenix, right? Well, even though I'm not going to let one regular season dictate how this whole video is going to go, I would just like to note that the Phoenix Suns did in fact beat the defending champions by 30. And I'm not going to lie, this game got kind of tragic at one point, so much that Klay Thompson got ejected for the first time in his career.
Getting into it, this was the double technical between the two. As Klay is going to the bench, he has words with the official Ed Malloy, who gives him his second technical and sends him to the locker room.
Full transparency, the way he acted after getting ejected was just a bitch move, honestly. We get it, y'all won 4 rings, and while that is a very big accomplishment, I'm definitely not taking that away. What purpose does this serve at this point? You're losing to a team, you get ejected because you got pissed off that Booker was talking shit to you, and you're just pointing at your fingers like, I got 4 rings. Like, yo, if you don't get the fuck. Now, if you want an analytical standpoint from this game, I'm not gonna lie, Phoenix played very well, and Golden State for a majority of the game actually played very well. Despite me criticizing Draymond Green a lot, I'm just gonna be honest, him and the chemistry he has with Steph is amazing. Truth be told, I think the only reason they can't get rid of him is because of that thing that him and Steph have. I can't even explain it. Like, I mean, yeah, I could use the word chemistry, but it's so much more than that. Like, these two know exactly where each other are on the court all the time. It is so weird, but it's so amazing to watch. Oh, and speaking of Steph, since we're already talking about him, he dropped 21 points last night, which so far into the season has been his worst performing game, but if you watch the game, you already knew that, even if you had no idea how many points he had. Also, Jordan Poole is a bad man. The fact he is not a starter on this team is very surprising to me and very frustrating if you're a Warriors fan. I'm not saying Klay Thompson's not a good player, but if you want to win a lot, I would strongly advise Steve Kerr puts in Jordan Poole a lot more than he does. Because with about 5 years of development, maybe less than that, 5 years is very generous. With like 3 years of development, I think Jordan Poole's a top 10 guard in the NBA. And since we're talking about guards, let's talk about the best shooting guard in the NBA in Devin Booker. I tried telling y'all he was going to be an MVP candidate, and let alone there is a good chance he could win it. Booker is playing on a whole other level compared to these past couple seasons, which is saying a lot. Because if you really want to break it down, I think Booker for the past 2 years has been an MVP candidate that just didn't get talked about. But I think this season, like I predicted, that he has something to prove, and he's playing with ferociousness, and I love it. Now that I've kind of recapped the game, let's talk about what I've been wanting to talk about, and that's how the Phoenix Suns tricked the NBA again. Because apparently last year when I made this video, I didn't clarify what I meant, even though I thought I did, but let's just get that over with. Like I said in the intro, coming into the season, people did not have that high of expectations for Phoenix. Most people were putting them in probably the top 6 or worse when it came to standings. People didn't think they could contend again. The amount of disrespect I saw was so infuriating because I knew I was right. I knew Phoenix was a good team. I said it last year and I'm gonna say it again, because almost nothing has happened but one goddamn game that Phoenix is never gonna live down. The fact of the matter is that Phoenix could be a dynasty. They could win 3 straight championships. They could never lose another game again in franchise history, some 2K shit. But you're still gonna hear about that Dallas Mavericks Game 7 loss. You're still gonna hear about, oh, Luka is Booker's dad. Shut the f. We are once again in a situation where the Suns are being doubted, and I feel like no one's gonna be talking about it once again. It's like you're in class and you know the answer to the question, but for some reason the teacher just won't call on you even though she made eye contact. And I've said this multiple times in my videos, but obviously the media has agendas to push. They have narratives they need to get out there, and they can't let a small market team like Phoenix get recognition recognition. However, I might have to retract that last statement because at the time of recording this, it's pretty early in the morning actually. I cannot believe I have this much energy. There's a very good chance that Phoenix gets talked about because they beat the Warriors. So there's a chance for the next couple months until the Warriors and Suns play again. I'm not entirely sure when that is. That Phoenix will get hyped up. People will probably talk about them in a good way. Not as much as I am because I still think they're a top 3 team in the NBA. But you know what? We're going to hear that Devin Booker is a good player, that Mikal Bridges is a solid defender, that Chris Paul might be back, all that bullshit. But once they lose to a team that's supposed to be a contender, especially if it's on like Christmas Day or something, it's going to be just like last year. And I've said many times on this channel that I try not to overreact within like the first week of the season. And trust me, I'm definitely not saying Golden State's not a good team. I don't care that they're 2-2. They're probably going to be the first, maybe second seed. Honestly, this isn't even a video where I'm criticizing the Warriors that bad. Their game as a whole was pretty good. I guess after that point where there were like 7 techs at one point that were being thrown out like left and right, I think that's when things really started to change. And shit, sometimes you really do just get outplayed by the other team. But this isn't about them. This is about the Suns, who are about to get misrepresented once again. Oh, and trust me, I know there are many teams in the NBA that are getting misrepresented, which I'm probably gonna have to do the representation for them like I did last year. But I'm okay with that because I do what the media does, and that's tell you about teams that they won't. Now, like I did last year, let's go in depth on how good this team really is. Let's start with Devin Booker, who is probably the best part about this team. There's no doubt in my mind if he keeps playing the way he is, he's going to be not only an MVP candidate, but there's a very good chance he could win it. In the first 4 games this season, Devin Booker's dropped 34 points, 35 points, 33 points, and 28 points. So you can clearly tell Booker's on timing right now. I don't know how, but during the offseason, this man clearly got way better than he was compared to last season. Something that Booker struggled with was double teams, and it was very apparent whether it was the NBA Finals or even last year's playoffs. If you wanted to throw Devin Booker off his game, all you had to do was send a double team, and it was more than likely going to happen. However, this season, he's made the adjustments where that's not much of a problem anymore. He's been able to read double teams and be able to make the right play for his team, which is very important. I know I just made a video about Chris Paul being washed yesterday, and while I don't think he's at his peak once again, and I don't know if he's still going through that cycle, I might have been wrong a little bit. Some reports have been saying that Monty Williams is like holding Chris Paul and limiting his minutes and the shots he takes and stuff like that. I would think because of his age and maybe he's trying to preserve him throughout the season. But last night, Chris Paul really did show up, and I was not mad at the way he played last night. With him not being a top scorer on this team, I think that's completely okay as long as he can continue to be the playmaker that he's been. I'm going to package the twins together, but Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson are 2 players that they are amazing at what they do. It is very simple what they're able to accomplish. Mikal Bridges is a very good defender, and Cam Johnson is an amazing shooter who is really good at cutting. With having playmakers on the team like Chris Paul and Devin Booker and even Cam Payne sometimes, I think these two are really good and really complement Phoenix. Seeing Cam Johnson as a starter really does make me happy because I believe for the past couple seasons he's already deserved this. And even if there was a chance like Jay Crowder said he wanted to come back to Phoenix, which I don't know what the hell is going on with that situation, I would imagine Cam Johnson remains himself as the starter of this team. DeAndre Ayton, we gotta talk about you, my boy. Everyone had something to say during the offseason that he didn't want to be there. He was being held hostage. Blink twice if you're being held hostage. Yet I've seen many improvements in DA's game, and he looks very aggressive and he looks like he's not afraid. I noticed last season there were multiple times where DeAndre Ayton was too conservative when he was playing, and honestly I love the way he's playing now. Obviously there are things he can improve, but I think throughout the season he's really going to show development. By the way, the pickups of Damian Lee and Jock Landale, shout out to the Aussie Boys podcast, were definitely 2 pickups that a lot of people underrated. I didn't think these guys were going to be the craziest addition, but I was proven wrong. Damian Lee, I love that he had championship winning experience, and I also love that he was a very good shooter and he's someone that could do a lot for Phoenix. And Jock Landale, I just loved as a big, honestly. I wanted Phoenix to get some more bigs to come off the bench, and they did just that. In fact, he's exceeding not only my expectations, but I think just about everyone else's expectations. Also, this is kind of off topic, but those throwback jerseys, oh my god, those are fire. At the end of the day, Phoenix is a good team, and I've been trying to say this for the longest time, but I hope people finally start to listen. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna be the guy last year that's talking about Phoenix every week or so, but I'm definitely gonna be talking about this team as continuous as I can. I hope more people start to talk about this team because for some reason, people just don't want to. Of course, this isn't me saying that Phoenix is gonna win the championship just because of the first 4 games and they look really good. But if history's told us anything, it's do not ignore the early signs. And as far as I'm concerned, this is gonna be one hell of a year for them.